Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Adoptions from the Heart TV. I'm your host, Amanda Aliberti. We are very excited today to welcome Kayla. Kayla is going to share her experience of working with Adoptions from the Heart in building her family through adoption. So welcome, Kayla. So Kayla, why don't you first start in sharing a little bit about your expectations coming into the world of adoption and what led you to Adoptions from the Heart?
Yeah, my husband and I had always known that we planned to grow our family through adoption. We anticipated that conceiving biologically may bring some difficulties for us, and so we had begun researching adoption agencies and really dissecting international adoptions versus domestic adoptions versus going through foster care and private adoptions, everything from top to bottom as soon as we were married. So we took our time and took several years to come to the conclusion that we were ready to start interviewing agencies and really taking the first step forward in meeting with different locations and seeing where we wanted to go next.
And what sparked you to work with Adoptions from the Heart?
Yeah,
particularly.
Yes, so we did, my husband and I did look into international adoption as our first stop. At the time, it felt like that's where I was being called, and so we had interviewed with a couple of different international agencies, and ironically, we are both from Delaware and have spent most of our lives in Delaware or in the area, and so a friend had said, you know, there's an agency in your backyard. If nothing else, you should at least meet with them. And when I did my own digging and realized that it was an open adoption priority agency, and that all of the pieces that Adoptions from the Heart stood for of supporting birth mothers and birth families and providing support for the entire family unit, whether that's biologically or the adopted family, bringing them together. And so every part of that, once we did decide that we wanted to pursue domestic adoption, everything just added up quite right, and because we knew that open adoption was our priority.
I always tell folks when they're doing their research and trying to navigate what agency to work with is you really want to learn what the values are at that agency. And I appreciate you sharing about birth parents because for many folks, the priority is building your family. I want to become a parent. I want to be placed with a child. But until you get into it and recognize the importance of the other side, which actually helps the entire triad, you realize that you want to have people in your corner that support before, during, and after the birth parent experience. Yeah. So I think it's important that when you are navigating which agency to work with, ask questions about what type of supportive services that you do offer, because I think that's really important to the bigger picture of you building your family.
Yeah, and frankly, that was one thing that also brought us closer to deciding domestic adoption as well, because we wanted to be able to know and see that these birth parents are getting the support that they need, that they're not making this huge life-altering decision that's going to impact them for the rest of their lives, and then being left to navigate it on their own. And I love that there are counseling services, that there are opportunities to stay connected in their child's life in a variety of ways that suits all parties involved. And so now that we're on the other kind of end and haven't had to make a decision regarding any of this in several years, I'm grateful that we chose not only an open adoption domestically, but also that we chose Adoptions from the Heart.
And what about the education that you received prior to being matched? What was that experience like? You know, for a lot of folks, it can be overwhelming. There's a lot of paperwork involved, home study assessment, taking courses and trainings. But now that you are on the other end of it, what suggestions or advice do you have folks who may be struggling a little bit with that piece?
Sure, I can imagine that can be overwhelming or daunting to some families too. I loved the educational component. I think that you don't really understand the value of it until you are knee deep in your adoption process, whether that's pursuing a match or if you are on the other end. And obviously our kiddos are now 4 and 5 years old, our youngest. And so the educational component was such a gift for my husband and I both, because we had different vantage points pursuing adoption. I had a little more familiarity based on my own family dynamics, familiarity with a relationship with a birth parent somewhat, whereas my husband was coming at it kind of just with a heart for adoption, but no perspective and no real life experience. And so that educational component that prepared us to ultimately match and build our family allowed us to be on an even playing field. It allowed us to have the same level of knowledge, be able to ask the same questions to the same experts, or even the greatest gift for me personally was hearing birth mothers share their story and birth fathers. That it still sends chills down my spine. It brings tears to my eyes often when I think about it, because I love the involvement that you allow birth parents to have on the other side of their journey as they continue on, and that you keep up. I mean, I've seen not only the other videos, but you had at some of the classes that we took, birth parents present and sharing their story. And for me, what a gift, because for our personal situation, we're still navigating that birth parent involvement. And I hope that it continues to evolve and grow and strengthen and get healthier and healthier. But to see what that could look like for another family unit or for another birth parent just gives me so much hope, and it makes me drawn even more so to the process that you've created here at Adopting for the
Well, and
Heart.
there's probably bits and pieces that you can also pull
Absolutely.
from hearing other stories and other experiences that can help you as a parent and just your dynamic as a family, you know, in general. So I appreciate you still seeing that as valuable in what you do.
I hope you never do away with it. Truly, because if anything, I think that every parent pursuing adoption of any kind, whether it's open or otherwise, or if you have more rigidity that you want to pursue in the way you approach adoption, I hope that everyone has the opportunity to sit down and ask open questions in a safe way to a biological parent or a bio family, whatever the case might be, a bio dad, even because we had a bio dad at one of our classes as well. And what a gift that was for both of us. It really opened our eyes, but also softened our hearts to see that we're in this together and we're all trying to pursue the same thing. And that's a healthy, loving environment with love coming from so many different directions for our kiddos.
Absolutely. Can you share with our audience the dynamic of your family in terms of your children?
Oh yeah, we're a wild bunch. We are a crazy family. We have 3 generations under one roof. We also have 3 kiddos. So my husband, Kevin, and I have a biological kiddo. He's age 9. That was such a gift and a surprise for our family. So he was the first one to make us parents, and somehow we're still kicking and alive. We have our 2 daughters, both adopted, and they are biological siblings as well that we were able to adopt through Adoptions from the Heart. Rory is 5 years old and Ellie is 4 years old, which is crazy. That means we've known each other for several years now. And my father lives with us as well. And so we also have an au pair with us too. So we have 4 adults under one roof and 3 kiddos and a dog.
Can't get married than that.
No, it is quite a zoo. It's quite a zoo.
Any advice you would give for folks who have a biological child and are considering adopting and maybe just having some caution about that?
Sure. Caution, I love the question. I wouldn't say that we approached it with any more caution than you would if you planned to grow your family after adopting for the first time. I don't think that the biology component really makes a shift. Whether you've adopted once and are adopting again, I think the conversations are going to be quite similar because you're growing your family intentionally. I think your kiddo should be a part of that conversation. My son was 3 years old when we first decided to go ahead and pursue adoption and grow our family in this way. And so obviously quite young, but we were very honest with him. You may remember, we had very open conversations with him about saying, are you afraid of doing this? If you say no, we are pursuing this as a family. You have a vote in this. We said the same to my father, actually, because we're all under one roof. We approach everything as a family unit. And so although my son was only 3 at the time that we initially pursued this, we wanted it to be an open conversation. It was not his ultimate choice to be made, but he was a part of the decision-making process. As far as cautionary tales, I would say that using open and honest language that you're comfortable being consistent with long-term is very important. My son knows that his sisters are adopted. My daughters know that they are adopted. From birth, we have used very clear and open language with them. We wanted to be very candid and put appropriate language to it, and everyone felt empowered and on the same page. So
talk to us about birth family and if you guys have any sort of relationship and what you hope for the future.
Yeah, I have so many hopes. I keep my heart completely open to whatever might mold and shift as years come by. We do have an open communication line with their birth mother. So my daughters share a birth mother, the two of them together. We have somewhat regular written communication with their biological maternal grandmother, and I am forever grateful for that. If nothing else, I hope it continues to evolve and perhaps they are able to meet her one day. It's my hope that they continue to see through our letters and emails that they are welcome to be a part of our family at whatever pace that they are comfortable with. I know that that shifts by family. By no means is what we do perfect for everyone else, but my long-term hope is that their birth mother, when she is well and healthy and ready to pursue a relationship with them, that she knows that our arms are open, our home is open, and we'll be there waiting when she's ready.
Well said. So sometimes folks, when they don't have as much openness with biological mom and biological father, adoption is not really spoken about as often in the household. You kind of touched on this earlier, but what are ways that you still discuss adoption and allow for your kids to have an idea of things as they grow, obviously age appropriate times or whatnot, but what are ways that you are still committed to this concept of discussing adoption and openness with your kids as they grow up?
I am incredibly intentional about selecting a variety of books, children's books, not only in our home, but I place them in their classroom as well, so that neither of them can read yet, but obviously we are reading to them, their teachers are reading to them. So I've even reached out to you all at Adoptions from the Heart as each year has gone by for new book ideas, even just other ways, whether it's movies or whatever, to introduce to our kiddos the idea of that families all look different, even if it's not that keyword of adoption, like I said. And so we've given books every year to their classroom that revolve around adoption. Usually it's ones that we have cycled through. So I'll purchase new books. We will read them in our home for many months, and then I will donate them to their classroom. And that way they get to share it with their friends. They're already very familiar with the story, so they get to share it. Another way I would say is that if we find a character in a movie that happens to be adopted, or perhaps they've joined a family, because adoption is simply a word that labels a unique experience. So there are different ways to make a family and different ways to join a family. And so if ever we see that in a movie or a storyline that we're reading, we try to put the words to it and say, wow, they weren't always with that family, but how amazing that this is who they celebrate their big moments with in life, and this is who loves them and they love them back. Just to show that really for us, family is not biology at all, and that they have aunts and uncles and friends who are like family in their lives that are not biologically connected to any of us, and that we're really just founded on love and respect for each other.
Absolutely. So now that you are on the other end of things, anything that you would have done differently, or just suggestions or advice you have for folks who are considering adoption and they're really at the beginning stages of, do I work with an agency or not, and what path do I take, and that sort of thing?
I would say humbly, this is not a commercial by any means, but I would humbly say to at least meet with an agency, if nothing else, because there are things that have popped up over time that I wouldn't have suspected, even as someone who researched adoption so deeply and thoroughly, even before having our first meeting with any of the agencies that we met with. And to know that we have a resource in you all. Our adoption has been finalized for years now. Our kiddos are well aware, and we could sit here and suspect that it's going to be a smooth ride from here forward, but really that's not reality. And so to know that we have a family in all of you that we can come to as a resource is incredibly important to me. Even if we were to move, to know that you're a phone call away, any of you here at Adoptions from the Heart. Another piece of that, I think, is even the tiniest of things, reaching out and saying, hey, I had a conversation with my kiddo. What are some books that you would recommend? I mean, it's small moments in life, but to know that we can lean on you all and have a resource. But for those families who are in their initial steps in deciding whether or not to work with an agency, for example, I would say that you prepare for so many changes in life, whether that's pursuing a marriage or a long-term relationship. You seek counsel, you do the appropriate things to make sure you're set up for success. If you're doing anything financially, you usually meet with people and make sure that you're set up for success. I would expect no different. when you're choosing to grow your family. And so do your due diligence. If this isn't the right agency for you, so be it. It's been an incredible gift for our family, but I think that also is because we did really our research leading up to it. We met with you all in person, and we had open conversations about not only our curiosities, but our fears and what our hopes would be. And we were able to talk through all of that so that when the time came, and we've had ups and downs along the way, of course, to know that we were ready and we were prepared as best we could be meant a lot, because to do that on your own it's not that it's unrealistic, but it's unfair, because you can only be so strong, and then to have to also be equally as strong for your kiddo, what does that show them?
Yeah.
You know, you want to show them that you're willing to surround yourself with people who can support you and lean on you.
I just always love having conversations with you. You brighten my day.
I'm glad. The feeling is mutual.
Well, thank you very much. I know that your story is going to help a lot of folks who are trying to navigate all the layers that adoption encompasses, and we just appreciate you sharing, and lots of, love and best wishes in the future for you and your family.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and continue to tune in to future episodes here at Adoptions from the Heart TV.